Your mind is running a movie right now. The problem is, you didn't write the script. Most of the mental footage we play on repeat is weighted toward disaster. We passively watch presentations that fail, conversations that turn hostile, and endless loops of the worst-case scenario. Vadim Zeland calls this mechanism the slide, but he argues a slide isn't a deliberate manifestation technique you decide to adopt. It is a process already running in the background of your mind, constantly and automatically. Without intervention, our default state is often a highly detailed, unintentional simulation of our own failure. The motor cortex activates similar regions whether a physical action is executed in reality or merely vividly imagined. To the nervous system, the distinction between a real event and a detailed mental rehearsal is nearly non-existent. When you rehearse a disaster in your mind, your body begins calibrating for it. Your nervous system processes the imagined frames as instruction, preparing your chemistry for a threat that hasn't arrived. This internal footage shifts your posture, adjusts your vocal tone, and tilts your micro-decisions toward confirming exactly what the internal cinema predicted. Running negative slides unconsciously is a structural command that dictates your physical and behavioral readiness. This neurological feedback loop explains why standard visualization methods, like vision boards or affirmations, rarely produce the results people expect. Looking at this timeline, we see the mechanical error of wanting. When you visualize an external, unreached goal, you train your brain to focus on the absence of that goal. Repeating this sense of yearning signals to the nervous system that the goal remains in the future. The brain continues to calibrate for a state of pursuit, rather than a state of arrival. When the primary focus of your mental imagery is the gap between here and there, the mind effectively optimizes for the gap. Zeland's corrective mechanism for this is the target slide. This requires visualizing yourself operating comfortably inside the achieved state. The detail is internal. The emotional register is settled. There is no longing in the image because within the slide, there is nothing left to reach for. Think of this GPS interface. A target slide establishes the destination as a fixed reality first, and only then calculates the route backward to the present moment. The target slide acts as a navigational anchor, using the end state to orient your attention and decision-making toward the version of you that already achieved the goal. Once the anchor is set, it begins to shape the world layer, Zeland's term for the specific version of reality that an individual perceives and interacts with. This is documented through expectancy effects and confirmation bias. Our internal priming dictates which details we notice, which opportunities we pursue, and how others respond to our presence. This means two people can walk down the exact same street and inhabit different architectures of reality. One person's priming emphasizes open pathways and connection, while the other system locks on to shadows, barriers, and indifference. Elite sports psychology validates this at the performance level. Athletes who run vivid mental simulations generate a sense of authenticity that leads to more effective outcomes in real-life competition. You inhabit the specific layer of reality your slides have trained you to perceive and interact with. Zeland's claim that slides materialize specific sectors of an infinite space of variations is a philosophical premise, not a falsifiable law of physics. However, the biological mechanisms of mental imagery, from neural activation to heart rate changes, are documented and consistent across decades of performance research. The tool's utility does not depend on adopting mysticism, because the underlying neurological mechanics execute the commands regardless of the philosophical framework you apply to them. But here is the operational warning. A deliberate target slide, sitting on top of a foundation of chronic, unexamined negative imagery, will likely fail. The older, more emotional footage usually wins the competition for your nervous system's attention. Effective intervention requires the active, conscious auditing of the default catastrophic loop before any new programming can begin. You have the capacity to choose the film, but this requires looking at what has been playing on the screen during every waking hour of your life. The internal cinema never stops running, demanding a conscious choice of exactly what you decide to project next.